Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of Apparel. Oh, yeah. Hi. Yeah, we forgot to say hello, everyone. Today, you see I'm not alone. You might think, who is this next to me? This is Amit. He's agreed to join me today for something rather unique, which is our mock test feedback, which we usually do on a one-on-one after the mock test. However, before we get to that, how about some news and announcements to begin with? First of all, gosh, it's hard to believe it. It's already the end of May almost, and we're going into June half the year. As a result, we have some really exciting things to mention and talk about very briefly as well. Number one, of course, we always like to start with congratulations to students who got their desired results. The list is extensive, but to sort of condense it into the most recent results, I suppose, I'd like to say a big congrats to Kanika, Chris, Gurmit, Ellen, Pravin, Amit Kumar, and I'll let the gentleman next to me say the last one, and you'll understand why in a minute.
Yeah, Ishmi Kaur.
And why would you like to say congratulations to her?
Because she's my wife.
Oh, there you got it, yeah. So they studied as a couple, and her aim, of course, was to get 65?
65, yeah.
And she got?
She got 77.
Not bad, not bad at all.
That was like very first try. She got 2 weeks training with Rex, and it was amazing. All the staff and Rex skills really give her help to achieve whatever desired score was she need to get it.
Yeah.
So it was really good.
So that's fantastic. And again, a part of that process is like what we're going to be doing face to face today as well. Yeah, which is great.
I think as I done my mock test, and the problem I was facing is there's a few problems. One is you need to understand the test, how you do, and especially the time management. The main problem I was having is the time management and also the negative marking.
Right.
So the Rex will help me to clear all those problems so I can get to my desired score.
Excellent. That's really good to talk about. And I think those are not just your problems, those are common problems that occur for most students. So I think it's really good that we're discussing it and letting other people be aware that these are the kinds of things you can run into.
Yeah.
Now, as a result, like you said, it was your wife's first attempt to get the score.
That's right, yeah.
Of course, we at Apparel, with all the staff as well, we of course feel more than overwhelmed and joyful when students get their results. But as you know, sometimes students achieve some scores even impress us, which is when they get all 90s.
90s, yes.
Yeah, like not a 9 band, but actually a 90, 90, 90, 90 score, meaning perfect. Because as you know, in the test for the PTE, you can actually get like an 87 or above, which is a 9 band. But actually a 90, 90, 90, 90 score is a very rare thing to see. And we're not talking enabling skills, which is even harder, but just the speaking, listening, reading, writing. As a result of that, we thought we'd put together a special promotion that's going to be kicking off now. Actually, it's online, and for the next month or until further notice, which is called the 90 Challenge. And what the 90 Challenge means is for those students who study with us for 2 to 4 weeks and meet certain criteria, which when you enroll, we'll discuss it with you, that achieve the 90, 90, 90, 90, we thought we'd reward them. And how are we going to reward them? We're going to give you your tuition back 100%.
Oh wow, that's great.
Isn't it?
That's great,
so if you achieve all 90s and study 2 to 4 weeks, and again, there are a few conditions, very minimal, but there are some conditions, we will be more than happy to return not 90%, but 100% of your tuition back. So 2 weeks, you get the course free. 4 weeks, you get the course free.
Wow.
So again, it has to be on your first attempt, as you can imagine. But for people like your wife, then, that can do on the first attempt and get all 90s, why not reward them?
Of course, yeah.
So
it's
thought,
a good thing to do that, like so the student get more benefit for that. Yeah, you know.
Exactly. So we want to reward you for putting in that extra effort to get toward a 90, which, as we know, just getting a 9 band is hard enough, which is an 87, but all 90s, that's quite a feat. So if you study here with us again, 2 to 4 weeks, please, when you call, inquire and ask them, what is this 90 challenge?
90 challenge.
And it's great because 90 equals 100. And when does that happen in life? Very rarely 90 equals 100.
Yes.
So in this case, you get a 90, 90, 90, 90, and we give you back 100% of your tuition fee. So that's the first thing. Now, to help you along that journey as well, we have a new app. It's called Telegram. It's a really cool app for apparel training for all the students in all the different PTE classes, because we have 3 or 4 up and running currently. And it's hard for the students to communicate with each other.
Yeah.
As you know, you're in the room with me or with the other teacher, you're at
Yeah.
break, you talk to the students in your class, and you go home, and you wonder, who are these other people?
Other people, that's
wandering
right,
around
yeah.
the hallways. So this way, it's your chance to communicate and see other people, and we put up daily activities and exercises, and as we're doing now, students can ask questions.
Yeah.
So again, it's called Telegram. We'll tell you more about it later, but you can inquire about it and or call and say you'd like to be added, and we can definitely add you to Apparel's group with Telegram. Again, you download it from the Apple Store or even Android from Telegram, and you're up and running. You just need for us the information. Okay, now that those are out of the way, let's get back to what you were saying before, which is fantastic. So as I said, what we're going to do is go through a feedback session. This has not been practiced, so I know he has questions, but what they are, I haven't heard them yet, so I want to make it more realistic as far as showing at times there might be answers I'm not able to give 100%, and at times maybe I'm not quite sure as far as how to address it, but that's the reality as far as feedback goes, as far as working together to try to come up with a solution, and that's the benefit of feedback as well. So as we say in English, fire away.
Yeah.
What's your first question you have for me
Okay,
today?
my first question will be the negative marking,
Sure.
because that's the biggest problem, because when you do the mock test or even the real test,
Yeah.
you have a problem. You are in a hurry to finish all that so that you can get into the desired score.
True.
But the thing is, like, sometime in a hurry you forget there is a negative marking.
Yeah.
So what is the easy way to remember those things
Okay.
which can help me to get my desired score?
Mm.
And second is, when it comes to the reading and filling the blanks, I don't know, I just lost everything in my mind.
Okay, yeah.
And I just got blank. I don't know how to deal with the filling blanks. So
Okay.
can you
Yeah.
just help me?
Sure. Yeah, let's address one at a time, otherwise
Yep.
by the time I hear number 2, I've totally forgotten number.
Okay,
What was
yeah.
number 1? No, I'm not that bad yet. So yeah, I think what you said first of all about negative marking, it's an excellent point. In different sections, there's only, as you know, there's 20 units. Out of the 20 units, there's 3 clear sections that have negative marking. Those 3 sections being multiple choice with multiple answer in both reading and in listening. Now what's interesting is in both reading and listening as well, multiple choice with multiple answers, the second skill. Have you ever noticed that?
Yes.
It's number 2 in reading and number 2 in listening.
Listening,
So
yeah.
in a way you can think, okay, number 2 has negative marking.
Okay.
Again, just with the reading and the listening. As we know, in the writing and the speaking, it's a whole different story. There isn't that for number 2. So those 2. And the only other one then is in listening, number 7, which is highlight incorrect words. In other words, whenever there's more than one alternative available, there's negative marking.
Okay.
Because in most cases, you can only put one answer in the blank, type one answer in the blank. So when you can only pick one, it's 1 or 0, so never skip. Because what I found is a lot of students, they skip because they said, well, I didn't know it, so I skipped it. But if you skip, it's a 0. If you do it and attempt it, you get 1, but if it's wrong, 0, but you already got a 0 anyway.
That's right, yeah.
So all you can basically do is improve your score in the 17 other, except for those. Then we come down to a philosophy of 3. Number 1 is if you can find only 1, it's better to use your time, put 1 and put next, because it's the philosophy of 1 is better
Yeah.
than 0. If by some chance, though, when it happens, as you know, it's the end of the time, which is, say, for most of them, for both reading and for listening, is quite interesting, is sort of, say, 1 minute for listening after and or 2 minutes for reading during, is that after that time, then you have a choice. And what I usually say then is, guess something. Because again, there's negative marking, but you already have a 0.
0, that's
and
right,
there's
yeah.
no negative 1. You can never get a negative number.
Yep.
0 is the lowest. So I say, at the end, if you have nothing and or time is up, choose 2 or even 3. Because as you know, the minimum is 2.
2, yeah.
So if I choose 2, I might get lucky and choose the right 2 and get 2. If I'm wrong, it's 0. If I get 1 right and 1 wrong, 0. But if I guess 3, again, I could get 3, 2, 1, or 0. But at least you're increasing your opportunity to getting points that if you just hit next would definitely be a 0.
0, yeah.
If there were negative, as in -1, no, it would be totally, but there's no negatives.
Negatives, okay.
The lowest you can get is a 0.
0, yeah.
So if you already got a 0, why not try to increase the 0?
Yeah, okay.
The only other one I would guess, oh, there goes my pen like always. The only other thing, thank you, the only other thing that has negative marking, it's somewhat controversial, but I believe it's true from seeing enough things, is in the read aloud. But the read aloud is weird in that when you're reading aloud, you actually get 20 points for reading.
Oh.
in your speaking. So when you're doing the read aloud, it's like you don't earn it. It's not like else. You're automatically given 20 points. So I always say it's like you're given $20 in the beginning of the test. And what they say is from 1 to 7, you're either going to have $20 or you're going to be broke and have zero.
Yeah.
You're not going to owe because there's no negative.
No negative, that's good.
And what happens is, in the read aloud is, there's 6 to 7 passages. And what they say is, okay, as you're reading, for each passage, you could go broke by the time you're done with number 1.
Yeah.
But in each passage, if you add a word or delete a word, it's automatically a dollar fine, which is -1.
-1,
So
yeah.
actually 1 equals 1. So if the passage said like the boys and the girls, and you said boys and girls, and you left out the, it goes, that's going to cost you a couple dollars.
Couple of dollars, that's
Because
right,
you already
yeah.
missed the word. Or if you add a word, maybe it says boys and girls, and you say the boys and girls, and there's no the, it's the same. They charge you $1 as well. The only other one is a really one that sort of is a gray area, is that if you pronounce a word totally wrong and that it sounds like another word, like let's say it's investigate, and you say invigilate, it's not the same word, then that charges you $1 because that's not pronunciation error.
Yeah.
If it's like investigate and you say investigate, that's still okay. That's pronunciation. And that takes 5 or 6 to lose $1 if we're talking money. 5 or 6, so you go from a 5, which is a 90, to a 4, 7. But it's not 1 is 1. It's a lot more lenient type
That's
of
right,
fine.
yeah.
6, 7, maybe even 8 equal 1. It's a much higher ratio rather than 1 to 1. So the main things to be aware of in the read aloud is to always attempt to say a word, even syllables. Now, as you know, because we're looking at oral fluency pronunciation, and the main one being oral fluency and read aloud, as you know, sometimes it's better to pay $1 than lose $19.
$19, yeah.
So as we know, oral fluency in a sense is $5, $6, $7, $8, as we talked about in class.
Yeah.
And if you're going to read, and that one word is going to cause you to stop, throw off all your oral fluency and prawn that you've just accumulated for, it's better to skip it, pay $1 fine, and keep the other $18, $19.
$19. That's a good tip for learning these things. I think I better try.
Yeah.
And then practice on those.
Yeah, and remember, you have time.
Yeah.
Because in the prep time, as you know, you have 25, 30, 35 seconds. You're deciding,
Yeah.
am I going to keep my $20 or am I going to pay the $1 fine? Because I know for sure I'm going to skip this word. But in a sense, skipping this word is going to allow me to say it perfectly. Better to
Yeah.
pay the fine.
Of course,
So
yeah.
you want to, of course, make that decision beforehand. Because if
That's
you
right,
make it when
yeah.
you get to there, of course, it's too late.
It's too
'Cause
late.
you've already paused and you already have to they automatically caught you already and you got to
Of course I
pay the
will,
fine.
yeah.
But that's the purpose, is deciding in the prep time what I'm going to say, what I'm going to skip. And I know already there's a penalty, but sometimes a penalty is better, a little penalty, than a big penalty of affecting the other scores,
Yeah.
such as oral fluency prawn.
Yeah.
So that's why it's sort of a trade-off. And with the other ones, as I said, it's a matter of either skipping, choosing 1 is better than 0, or having nothing and picking 2 or 3.
That's right, yeah. I need to work on it. At least if you got a 1 right, you got a 1 point for that, rather than
A 0.
just throwing the guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I've done the IELTS before, and
Mhm.
the IELTS listening was totally different what we got in a PT.
Yeah.
So everybody thinks it's the same.
That's right.
So that's why you got a bad habit to just do the guesses in there. But
True.
as the Rex says, like, the guess is not always right. So
Yeah.
so you better guess what you know.
Exactly right.
If it's no, at least choose 1. Anyhow, you're gonna get 0. Just choose 1. You get a 1 point, and just go for the next question. Yeah.
Exactly right. Now, addressing sort of the second point you had with fill in the blanks, that's actually a really good question as well for the listening. Is that
Yeah.
right, for the listening? Fill in the blanks listening, as you know, is based on the concept of spelling. So usually when everyone does a real or mock, the first thing I look at before I even look at the listening score is the spelling score. Because the spelling score is reflective of listening, because in listening, when it's fill in the blanks or right from dictation, you get a point for each word, but it must be spelled correctly.
Spell correctly, yeah.
As a result of that, I can't emphasize enough to everyone watching the importance of learning spelling rules. Like in your book, as you know, I keep emphasizing, look in the back of the book, do you know the 10 spelling rules? And as you know, that's just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak.
Yeah.
But as native speakers, even for us, spelling is hard because we don't need spelling nowadays. Our phones don't need it, computers do
Yeah,
it for us.
corrections and everything.
Yeah, everything's autocorrect. And all of a sudden we come to the PTE test that says, okay, this spelling component is about 60-70% of your score for listening is spelling.
Spelling, that's
So
right.
I can't emphasize enough the importance of knowing spelling. Now, a part of knowing spelling rules is being accustomed to words that come up frequently in the PT as well. Because if you've seen the words and heard the words, there's a higher chance you
High
can spell
chance
the
to
word.
it, that's right,
If
yeah.
they, even if you know spelling rules, if they say a word like cumbersome and you never heard it, you're going to go, what?
Yeah.
You can't even know. You don't know what the phrase is. Is it a K? Is it a C?
That's right.
So spelling rules are the basics. Then from there is building vocabulary along the way, which helps you with all the other units.
Yeah.
So I always say, in a sense, it's a two-step process. Increase your spelling with the rules, but also increase your vocabulary along the way. Those two then go hand in hand with success in filling the blanks. And I always say, again, almost as similar to IELTS in that you need at least, say, 1 to 2, no, not 1 to 2, listen to the lines, 1 to 2,000
Yeah.
vocabulary words that you can spell, use, and know the meaning of, and then you can be somewhat confident
That's right,
in
yeah.
filling the blanks. The other thing, though, on fill in the blanks that people forget is it's not just spelling. Because when you're doing fill in the blanks, you can spell the word and still get a 0 because it's grammatical as well. Which means you have to look, is it a subject, is it a plural, is it singular?
Singular, yeah.
If it's a verb, is it present tense, past tense? Because they count that as spelling. And of course, the hardest thing, capital letters.
Capital
Is it
letters,
capital or small? So once you know the two foundational things I said, then we have to add a third one to it, grammar. Now, that's sort of beneficial though, because once we know those three, we can apply those same 3 rules to when we do fill in the blanks reading.
Yeah.
So once you learn one, you do the exact same with the other fill. You know, like we're saying, multiple
Reading.
choice for both reading and
That's
listening.
right, yeah.
Fill in the blanks for listening and reading then can be accomplished with the same kind of skill set.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing I think about PT is minimizing the amount you do by realizing the connection between the skills. I can use this for this and that for that. So that mentally you know whenever you get this type, this is exactly whether it's listening, reading, writing, you do it the same
Do it the
manner.
same manner, yeah.
Yeah, you can't go wrong.
That's good, yeah. But the thing is, Rex, like I think most of, not only me, but most of the students, they're getting a problem. They don't have that much time to think about it. So that's the main problem. So what about you gonna say about the time management? How we can?
Yeah, I think what occurs is that in the classes, you know, because we're going through a great deal of material, we do it sometimes quicker, sometimes slower. In the beginning, maybe slower because we're introducing it. You need extra time.
Yeah.
As you know, in my class, each class is different. I think all of us do it in each class, but at different times. We try to do some set activities within the time frame. But at that time, it's hard because people haven't grasped the concept, and then we're pushing and they're getting it all wrong and they get frustrated.
Yeah.
But I try to do the time frame to begin with. That way you're developing a pattern. But what I fear and what I probably know is what you're saying as well happens is when people go home, they forget about time management.
That's right.
And they focus just on the skill.
Yeah.
You know, so you'll do 10 exercises, but you're not going to take 2 minutes. You're going to take 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes.
That's right. That's what I'm getting this problem.
Yeah.
I do practice some time at home, but the thing is like I never look up the time.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
go and practice, and I think as you say, like we need to spend maybe 1 minute.
Yeah.
Some have 40
Yeah,
seconds.
yeah, exactly.
But maybe I'm taking more than
Yeah.
2 minutes or something.
And I can address that. That's actually a really, really good question that I've tried to address previously, but it's been a while. And that what I tell students is when you study, you should have a purpose. A purpose isn't just to do an exercise,
Yeah.
which is what you're saying, which is what most students would think. What I say is, okay, if you're going to say, I'm going to do these, but I'm not going to look at time because my purpose is to understand the theory and the practical and to connect them. Great, you do that for 20 minutes. But then when you're done, you go, great, look at the book. I need to do 3 or 4 exercises in 2 minutes. Then can you apply the same concepts you have into a time frame?
Okay.
You're going to find, no, I can't, is probably the answer. So then your new goal is, now that you got it, is to work on it until you can do it within the time frame.
That's right, yeah.
So it's like a 2 or 3 step process, because even within the time frame then you get wrong and you go back and see what you're doing wrong within the time frame.
Yeah.
So if we look at it as a 3-step process, step 1, just understand it. Don't look at the clock at all, because you want to make sure, am I understanding the theory to the practical? Am I getting what was discussed and or told in class, or am I developing my own method? Then step 2 is, okay, now I've done 100, but in the test there's only 3 to 4.
3 or 4,
So
yeah.
now I have 3 to 4, I know I have 10 minutes to do, let's say 5 of them, like fill in the blanks reading. Can you do it?
Yeah.
If it's no, then it's not right or wrong, it's just doing to finish within the time limit.
Within time.
Then let's go back, now can I do it, finish within the time limit, and get the number I need?
Okay, sure. I think I need to work on it, but
Yeah.
definitely this will help me to get my desired score.
Yeah.
And also, I need to discuss about the WH formula. You know,
Mm.
as you listen in audio, as you mentioned, like you need to write down who, what, when,
Yeah.
where.
Yeah.
I know it's a good formula. I tried it a few times, but the thing is, sometimes the concentration you miss it all, and then you have like pre-blank in your mind what we need to say or what we need to discuss about it. So what do you reckon, what you can give me?
This is for the like which part in
I
particular?
think it's summarizes written text or
Oh, okay.
there's a few.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know whether like listening or with the reading, as far as which one.
Yeah.
What he's talking about is the WH method. As we know, when we're looking at a paragraph, it's constructed of the key ideas. Those key ideas being who and what, which is sort of the topic. Sometimes when is when, but usually the who and what are the key things. And then the where, when, any order, and why are what sort of construct a paragraph. As far as the first two being the topic sentence, the rest being supporting detail or concluding statement. So sometimes students have a hard time looking at an article and summarizing it into one sentence or more, and getting all the main details and just focusing on those details. And what he's saying is, I agree, there's so many who's in the articles, like who, what. How do I know what's the who's and the what's
That's
to focus
exactly
on?
what I'm talking about.
And that's actually a really, really good point. And a part of that is realizing that in a sentence, and this is where it sort of goes back to grammar, I suppose, which unfortunately we don't have a lot of time to cover in the class, but it is something worth looking into and understanding, that every sentence can have 2 nouns, even more, 3 nouns within a sentence, that being the main subject, we call that a noun, the subject, like he, she, it, the pen. Then we have a verb like eat, draw, talk, and then we have another noun which is called the object. So if you take the object instead of the noun, you're going to get the wrong idea. So I guess it's being able to analyze a sentence and go, these are the main nouns, and do I need the object or not, but not taking the object on if you don't need it. And that's called knowing grammar. So I suppose a part of what I sort of present is a very simplistic way of saying, you can do this if you know grammar. Because you're 100% right in that there are so many nouns, and how do you know the ones to pick? You have to pick the main nouns. And then sometimes it's the noun and the object because they support each other. So I suppose it's a lot more complex than just finding the WH question.
Which it is a big paragraph to read, and of course then it's a time problem. So you keep reading, and then you're getting all the ideas mixed in there. So then you start getting the problem. But I think, as you said, you need to work it on in grammars.
I suppose, though, having said that as well, another method that can work for people, because that's assuming people know grammar or have done PT, is what some people do is they quickly skim and scan the article. And think of it that we're going to talk together. And what I say is, we're like at work, and I say, okay, I want you to read this article and then tell me what you read, or tell your partner what you read. Think of a summary in that way. So you're going to read this, and you're only going to have, like, say, between 2 to 3 sentences to tell me in a memo to your partner or to me what you just read. So if you think about it, okay, I got to read and just take the key ideas and tell you the main ideas, probably because you can speak English, you know how to do that. So I think you just need to simplify it and sort of read through, and as you're reading, thinking, what ideas are the most important ones that I need to tell him so he understands the article? Then you're going to get the WH questions naturally. So maybe try that method. That's maybe a lot easier to do.
Okay, that's a good way. I think, I think I got all my answer.
Excellent.
So hopefully I get through with this by next week.
And just think, you have a good teacher at home as well, don't you?
I do.
When you have a wife who got her score already, I can imagine she's a great teacher and a good motivator as well. Yes,
she's my motivator.
See, maybe you don't know, I already spoke to her and I set some guidelines for her to talk to you and not do certain things until you get your score. So don't be angry at her. It was my advice.
No. I'm not that person. No.
Yeah, I know. It's all good. But I'm very confident. Well, and thank you very much for coming along today, because I think the questions you asked are excellent, and they're ones that I think people have and they don't always ask, maybe
Mhm.
embarrassment, or they just don't know how to phrase it.
Yeah.
And I think you put them to me really excellently as far as saying what is some of the issues. And it's helped to clarify for myself
Yeah.
some things that I've explained that maybe I haven't delved into. You like to
That's
use
right,
our
yeah.
writing word delved into enough, like with the WH, I never realized that
Mhm.
before. So that's great, so I appreciate that as well.
Thank
So
you.
thank you very
I
much
know,
for coming along.
yeah, I know most of the students, they're having problem, and Rex have a limited time while he's in the class, or he comes early to try to give answer to all the students. But I know most of the people, they're having, all the students, they're having the same problem. But it's a good thing to talk,
Yeah.
rather than, you know, spending money on the test, just not
Yeah.
knowing what you're doing.
Yeah, excellent
So
point.
just come up, join the
Yeah.
classes,
Yeah.
get a more experience, and
Yeah.
get more answers,
Yeah,
and you'll be
exactly.
fine.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I usually like to end with my words, but I think we'll end with someone else's words today.
Yeah.
Because as I said, I couldn't have said it better. So excellent job with summary as well.
Thank
if you do
you.
a summary that way, you will definitely get a 9.
Yeah, definitely.
So thank you for joining us today, and thank you for participating. As we know, write in, give us a call. You know the number is 655-80340. You know where we're at, 10 Victoria Avenue. First and second floor now. We're just expanding all over the place. And remember what I said, exciting things. Telegram, 90 challenge, so many things. Call us or even come in and talk to us. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for joining us.
All right, Rex.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank
Thanks
you
for
for
your
coming
time.
today. I look forward to this session again with the 90, 90, 90, 90.
Yeah, I'll
Giving
do
you a
it
check
soon,
for the money,
no
mate.
worries. Thank you.